Hi, I'm Alexa and welcome to Sandals and Steel Toes. In today's garden tour, we're going to be focusing all on the 22 tomato varieties that I'm growing in 2022. So let's go ahead and take a walk through the garden and let me show you all the cool things we got growing. So my garden is located in Northeast Ohio, which is Zone 6A. We are very close, about 3 miles away from the Lake Erie shoreline, so our growing seasons get kind of weird because of the lake effect weather patterns that we get. However, it is August 1st and I am really excited to talk about the tomatoes today and how they're doing. We're starting to get close to that point to where we're going to be harvesting them. I typically don't start harvesting my tomatoes until about mid to late August, so things are just starting to get ready to start ripening. I'm going to take you through all of these 22 beautiful varieties that I'm growing. So all my tomatoes got a really good pruning this week, and in each row here I have 6 plants about 1.5 feet spaced apart. This first one is the Indigo Apple Tomato. Now this is one of my very favorite tomatoes. In my 2021 Tomato Taste Test Review series, which I'll link below, this rated to be my #1 top pick of the year. So next is the Kellogg's Breakfast Tomato. Now this will be a yellow tomato when it's fully ripe, and this specific variety is super sweet. If you are looking for a very flavorful, more fruity tomato, I would definitely suggest the Kellogg's Breakfast. It is super delicious. It stands true to its name. It would be a great breakfast tomato. So this next one here actually is not on my original list of 22 tomato varieties. This one is my bonus tomato, so technically my 23rd. However, I didn't count this one because I didn't start it from seed. This one was actually gifted to me by a friend. It is the Giant Crimson Tomato. So M.I. Gardener actually got a hold of some 80-year-old tomato seeds. His company was able to germinate them, get them stable enough, and able to ship them out to people. And so my friend Ashley actually gave me one of her starts. I am really excited about this plant because the tomatoes are very big. It is very productive. It's actually probably one of the best plants that I have. I'm really excited about the Giant Crimson Tomato, and I will be saving seeds for this to continue growing it in my garden for next year. So this one is just loaded with fruits. I have a nice cluster right here, another one here, and for some size comparison, they're pretty good size. I have 3 plants of the Black Beauty. When I tried growing it last year, it wasn't in a very good area, and so it didn't produce well, but oh my goodness, this year they are doing fantastic. I mean, look how beautiful these are. Now this is another one that had fasciated blossom where it kind of fused together. Now we have this like cat facing going on. So this is more than one like tomato put together. This one's huge. But some of the more normal ones here are looking really good. And then lastly, down at the end of this row, I have 2 plants of the Black Sea Man. And so this one is also going to be more on the darker side, but not quite as dark as the Black Beauty. You can see there's none of that dark purple coloring on these ones. But look how productive this one is. I am really excited about Black Sea Man. It's a new variety that I'm trying this year. And with the production that I'm seeing and the size of the fruit, I'm pretty excited about it. And this is the Black Strawberry Cherry. This is a new variety that Baker Creek released this year. So this is a cherry-sized tomato that gets these really pretty purple and reddish pink streaks when it's fully ripened. I don't know how it tastes yet, so stay tuned for a future tomato taste test review video to talk all about the black cherry. So the next 2 I have are pink Bumblebee Cherry tomatoes. Now these were my favorite cherry tomato that I tried out last year that you can check out in my Part 1 of my taste test review series is all about cherry tomatoes because, you know, that's usually what ripens first. Now this year, all my cherry tomatoes seem a little bit more behind than normal, but the pink bumblebee is a really big cherry tomato. I am in love with the size of it and the flavor was fantastic. So these will be a nice pinkish red color, very big, very sweet, an all around really nice cherry tomato to try out. So down my 4th row here, I have the Isis Candy Cherry, and the Isis Candy Cherry has been growing really nicely. I mean, it has a really nice cluster here of tomatoes. Hopefully they'll be ripe soon, but when they are ripe, they're gonna be a bright orange color. This is one of the newer ones I'm trying, and from the packaging description, it was that they were very sweet, kids love them, and they taste like candy. So I definitely wanted to try these, and also my dog name is Isis, so it kind of worked out, able to find a tomato named after her. Next I have the blue cream berry, and as you can see, another tomato that has the purple top, going along with the theme of most of my tomatoes, which are the some sort of purpling on them. I really like the purpling tomatoes, but the blue cream berry, when these are ripe, the tops will be this dark purple, but the bottoms are going to be actually more of a yellow color, and these are very sweet. These were among my favorites from 2021, so I had to grow it again. The blue cream berry, really nice productive tomato plant. So now we're on the 5th row in my tomato alley, and the first one here is the Berries Crazy Cherry. Now this is going to be an extremely prolific cherry tomato plant. You can see all of the blossoms on here. These clusters of tomatoes are huge. You'll get so many tomatoes off one branch cluster. It's no joke that the Berries Crazy Cherry are actually crazy because of how much fruit you can get off this plant. I mean, look at this. Isn't that crazy? Now we're gonna talk about the Dark Galaxy tomato. I really like the Dark Galaxy tomato because it's super unique. Again, we have this dark purple blushing, and then the rest of the tomato is gonna get deep dark red, almost purple. But what really makes these special are the speckles that are going to appear on this tomato. You can already start to see them forming, but as this tomato ripens, those speckly white spots are gonna become more pronounced and stand out even more. The Dark Galaxy really stands true to its name in that the tomatoes look like they have stars on them. And I can't think of a whole lot more unique things than tomatoes that have stars. So the Dark Galaxy is a really wonderful tomato that I love the taste of, I love how they look, and they're a pretty productive plant and would suggest you growing that in your garden. So next we have the Dr. Weishi's tomato. And this is another yellow tomato variety that, oh, my ducks are coming to say hello. Hi ducks! But this is another really nice yellow tomato variety that's very sweet. It's more on the fruity side, so if you're kind of adverse to the way a tomato tastes, I would recommend trying a yellow tomato. They are not as strong in flavor, and usually they're more fruity, less acidity, but the Dr. Weishi's is a really nice one. For production, Dr. Weishi's is doing much better than the Kellogg's Breakfast, which is the other yellow tomato that I'm growing, so I'm pretty happy with this plant. This one here has several fruits growing on it in different clusters. So I'm feeling like I'm gonna get a pretty good yield from this one. This one's gonna be really big. So we are on to row 6, which is my last row here in my tomato alley. And the first one here is the Green Giant. So the Green Giant will be completely green when it's ripe. And how you know that it's ripe is it will be kind of squishy and soft. So this is one you just kind of have to watch out for. I do have some more like cat-faced fruits here. So again, like in heirloom tomatoes, which a lot of what I'm growing are heirlooms, the blossoms do become fasciated where they kind of fuse together. And this is the result of it. And like I said, it's completely edible. It's just they're not going to store as long as one that doesn't have this going on. So we would just want to use those up quickly. But I only have one green tomato plant because, you know, I'm just not a super fan of the green tomatoes, but someone recommended this one to me, so I'm giving it a try and we'll see how it does. So next here is the Ananas Noir, or black pineapple tomato. I mean, this was recommended by a viewer after watching my tomato taste test series. I'm really excited. Look how big this one is. And this one here too is also really big. So on the sides of these, I think they're going to do pretty well, and I'm really hoping that they kind of taste like a pineapple. They're supposed to be a more citrusy tomato, so we will see how they turn out. Last in this section of tomato plants are the Luto Genovese. Now I am just noticing that there's a lot of spotting happening on some of these upper branches of the plant, which is actually surprising to me because I've been keeping them pretty well pruned. So I'm gonna have to come in here and cut out all of this nastiness going on in here. And unfortunately, once this starts, it's gonna be really hard to control it or stop it. The most I can do at this point is just keep cutting it out and try to keep it at bay. But what's gonna be most important is just keeping the plant healthy enough for my fruits to ripen at this point. I don't expect to get any more new tomatoes growing off of here. The blossoms actually don't look very good. So I'm guessing that this plant is more on its way out, but they are really loaded, and it appears to be my first ripe tomato that doesn't have blossom end rot. So this is very exciting. August 1st and getting my first ripe tomato of the year on the Luto Genovese. I am going to keep watch on this. I would say this is going to be another 2 days until it's ready. I mean, it's starting to get soft on the bottom. I can slightly indent it here, so that's really exciting to get my first tomato. Last on this row, just to finish it off, is another indigo apple plant. I do have a couple of these scattered throughout because they were my favorite, so I grew some more of them. So this part of the video, I'm going to be talking about what is growing in the front section of my garden. I have more tomatoes located up front here. I have to do a little bit of a voiceover since my audio did get cut out sometime during recording. So in this front section, I have a lot of tomatoes, some different varieties that we're going to look through. Along my fence here, I have cucumbers and scarlet runner beans. Both really cool, and then just in front of those are where I have another section of tomatoes. So the first one we're going to talk about is called the Powers tomato. When I purchased the seeds from M.I. Gardener last year, it was actually called Chernobyl, but I guess the name has since changed. And this is going to be a really lovely yellow tomato. It's actually a paste tomato. It's an indeterminate variety from Virginia, heirloom, and it's nice and sweet and tangy. This variety here is a Hungarian heart tomato. It has a nose growing off of it, so that's kind of funny. I grew this one last year and it produced huge 1-pound fruits. I'm really excited about the Hungarian heart, and I like to use this as a paste tomato. And the rest of the line here, I have some Jersey Devils and the Big Mama varieties. So here we have one of the Jersey Devils. Now this one is a bit smaller than the one that I showed you earlier that is growing in my greenhouse, but it will get very long and kind of has like a horn shape to it. Now these are the Big Mama paste tomatoes. We got these to use for the majority of our sauce making this year. They are a hybrid variety that is new to me. My mother-in-law Gail actually heard about them and how they were supposed to be so wonderful. And so we got the seeds and planted them this year. And so I'm pretty excited about trying them out. It did take some time for these plants to start growing. They were way behind everything else, even though they were started at the same time. But now they're really taking off. They've got tons of beautiful fruit on them, really big in size, lots of flowers still blooming on here, so even more fruits to come. So I'm pretty excited about the Big Mamas and to see how they actually taste. So those are all of the tomatoes growing in the outside garden, and now we're going to talk about what is growing inside my greenhouse. And I'm very excited about how everything is looking in here. This is where we kept our chickens over winter, so they dropped their manure, all of their straw and mulch bedding were in here. So it's been a learning experience how to grow in this environment, since I've never grown in a greenhouse before. But I am just amazed by the size of these plants. I mean, not only is the heat and humidity really being focused in here, but it has also been very well fertilized by my chickens. And these are the biggest tomato plants that I have ever grown. I've had good success with tomatoes growing in general, but they have never been as big as it is. And these plants are just about touching the ceiling. This pipe here is probably about at least 6 feet high. And the whole structure, I would say, is around 8 feet high. So it's just quite amazing how well these are doing. And so these tomatoes here are the Trip L crop, and they have been fantastic. One of my favorites from last year, and I've trying them out here in a greenhouse environment, and the fruits are huge all over the plant, completely covered. I am super excited to see these start to ripen. I have had a little bit of issue with tomato hornworms, but I've only found a couple, so luckily they're not too bad. So some big beautiful fruits on here, and to my super excitement, I found my very first ripe tomato. The one that I shared earlier, the Castelluto Genovese, that wasn't ready for picking, but this one here, ready for picking, and we're gonna pick it together. We're gonna pick this tomato. Very excited. Nothing like picking your very first tomato of the season, and just look how beautiful it is. It's nearly perfect. A little bit of splitting, but not too bad. So it is always exciting getting the first ripe tomato of the year. You wait so long for this. I started my seeds for my tomatoes all the way back in March. I believe it was March 21st. I planted these out in this greenhouse on May 22nd, and today is August 1st. So let's see, March, April, a little over 4 months to go from seed to fruit, and I'm excited for this. Woo! It's so good. I haven't had a tomato in a very long time. I think I'll save the rest of this one and take it in the house and have it with some salt. That sounds really good. You know you've missed tomatoes when you just find one and eat it like an apple. Okay, so let's talk about what else is growing in this greenhouse for tomatoes. I have the big mama plant in here and the mortgage lifter on this side. So this one here and this one here are the big mamas. They're doing well, very productive. There's a good cluster of fruit on here. And these are further along than in the front row. See how big these are getting. And then here we have the mortgage lifters. These plants are also doing really good. They're up past the support beam. We've got blossoms even up at the top, and some really nice looking fruits growing in here. And then on the other side of the greenhouse here, we have more of the Castelluto Genovese, the Jersey Devil, and the German Pink. These Castellutos are also doing pretty good. You can get way back in here and see some nice clusters growing in there. Very strong, healthy looking plant. It's a good example of the Jersey Devil. So they get this little horn tail at the end of them, so they kind of look sort of like a pepper. And this is a German Pink. Now this is a very big fruit. This is going to be a big tomato, nice pink color. They taste really good. If just you're looking for a very classic red tomato, the German Pink is it. Now this plant, I only see 2 fruits on them actually, so must not be having as much good production with this variety in the greenhouse. So that's something to think about for the future. And those are all the tomatoes that are growing this year in my 2022 garden. I'm really excited about it. Last year I grew 40 varieties, and while it was great to try so many kinds, at times it was a little disappointing because I only had like 1 or 2 of each plant. So this year that I only have 22 varieties, I have cut that almost in half. I am able to grow more plants. There will be more tomato content very soon. Once all of the tomatoes start ripening, I will be sure to take you along and show you how beautiful those all look. And I do plan on doing another tomato taste test review this fall. Once all of my tomatoes have come in and gotten ripe, I will taste test them all, give you my thoughts and opinions, and if there's any on my favorites list that drop off from this year. So make sure that you subscribe to stay tuned for that. So now to continue on the garden tour, which I'm gonna go not quite so in depth with everything else this time because I did that in my second garden tour video from a few weeks ago, but I did want to share with you my herb garden and give you some ideas on what to grow for herbs in your garden that are going to complement all of your veggies that you're growing and just side dishes in general. So I keep my herb garden up towards the house, and this is actually a spiral garden. It's kind of hard to tell right now because it's very filled in, and we've had this here, I don't know, for maybe like 5 years now. It's been really nice to grow in. And so some of the staple items that I'm always growing in my herb garden, we have this really lovely dill growing. I just love to eat dill by itself personally. I mean, you can eat the seed pods on the top that I'm showing you here, or you can eat the leafy parts, but dill is just great to have, especially if you're growing cucumbers. Homemade pickles are really easy to make, no canning required. You can make pickles, keep them in your refrigerator, and it's so great to have that fresh dill to make them with. So always recommend dill. I have rosemary in here. I haven't had much luck overwintering my rosemary. It just gets too cold here. We're in 6A. Maybe if I kept it protected, but usually I have to start rosemary over every year. This is parsley. Parsley is one of those dried herbs that you probably use in most of your cooking, so I just like to grow it and use some of it for fresh, but mostly I'm going to dry it and keep it stored. Here we have some really nice sage. It's just really soft. If you ever get a chance to feel your sage leaves and just rub your hands over it, smell them. Oh, it smells so good. This is a new plant that we purchased from a nursery this year, and it's really taken off. Sage is just another really great herb to dry out and keep in little glass jars. Use it for your cooking all year long. Always recommend sage, and this actually overwinters pretty good. This herb is called rue. Honestly, I don't know what to do with rue. I've used it in a few recipes that's called for it. It comes back every single year. I don't have to really do anything with it. It's an odd taste, but if you use rue, let me know how you use it. This is chocolate mint. It tastes fantastic, really great for making teas, flavoring things, but it does take up a lot of space, so you have to keep it in check. This is calendula, which can be used medicinally. You can eat it, you can make different creams and ointments with it. Really wonderful to have in your herb garden. This is a red basil. Here we have oregano that has gone to seed, so it's made its flowers, it's trying to reseed now. But the oregano down below still tastes fine. You just may want to cut the seedy part off if you were trying to dry this, because that part doesn't taste quite the same as the leaves. It's so good to have your own herbs. Here's another kind of basil. Honestly, I don't remember what kind this is. It has also gone to seed. This is just a sweet green basil, kind of your traditional, normal kind of basil, so I need to be picking that. Here we have cilantro that has gone to seed and bolted. It makes really pretty white flowers, so I leave those for the pollinators, and I let it continue its seed process. So all of these little green balls here are going to dry out, and those are seeds. Those are actually going to be coriander, so if you use coriander in your cooking, those are cilantro seeds. It does have a different flavor than cilantro, but once these dry out, I'm just going to pull them off the plant and throw them back down, so that way I can have more cilantro growing in the same spot. So basically reseeding and using my cilantro over and over. And just wanted to make a note that my herb garden is very close to my house. So my kitchen is in the back part of the house, so when I'm cooking and need something, I can just run out and get it quickly, continue with my cooking. I don't have to make the longer walk out to the food garden. I can just take what I need and go back in. So I always recommend, if you have the space to have an herb garden close to your house, make sure you do that. Proximity is important, and you're going to be using this more often the closer it is. So this week I pruned back all of the lower leaves on these cucumber plants. I was noticing we had tons of blossoms, but like really not that much fruit. And so I figured I might as well take off the leaves because it doesn't need as many leaves as it produces. And since I've done that, we've gotten so many more cucumbers, and I am seeing pollinators on these like crazy now during the day. So the bees and the butterflies, they just needed some help to find all of the flowers that are ready for pollination, because now we've got lots of fruit and little babies coming on. So we will use that dill I showed you and make some pickles this week. And I have two varieties growing. This one here is the Ashley cucumber. If you can see this one in here, that is called a straight 8. And I haven't really noticed a difference in taste for either of those varieties. They're pretty similar in size, similar in texture. I don't notice any taste difference between the Ashley or straight 8. For me, most cucumbers taste the same. Mixed in with the cucumbers, I have two different kinds of beans. I have the purple potted pole beans and scarlet runner beans. Honestly, I'm not really able to tell the difference because all sets of beans have these really beautiful purple flower pods. And I'm hoping to get some kind of harvest off of them because they are being pretty severely attacked by beetles. So it's not the Japanese beetle that's a problem. It's this like kind of rust colored beetle. I'm not sure what kind they are. But they have laid eggs and their larvae are have hatched, and now they're just devouring the leaves here. And I haven't actually gotten any pods off of these yet. There's lots of blossoms, so I'm leaving them for now, and I'm hoping I can get something off of these beautiful plants before I have to rip them out, because just look how pretty it is filling this fence up. The Kentucky Wonder Beans have made it to the top of the trellis, and they're going a little bit crazy, whining on themselves. There's lots of flower pods all on here. Now these bean plants are also facing the same pest pressure as my other ones, which is unfortunate. I'm half tempted to tear them out, but my arch trellis tunnel is almost filled in. So I feel like I just have to leave them at this point and just hope that they produce some beans, even though the beetles are doing a lot of harm to it. But the Kentucky Wonder Beans have made it to the top, so this should fill in soon. And then on the next trellis, I have the Tromboncino squash, and I have some fruits on this one. So we've got two fruits growing here. And the Tromboncino squash is really cool because not only does it have such a really unique shape, it stores really well as a winter squash. It's very versatile. It seems to resist the squash bugs more so. I have noticed some eggs on it this year, whereas last year I didn't. So I think maybe the squash bugs are becoming more resilient to this variety. I don't know, but you can harvest the squash like right now. How these are nice and green. I could pick them now and eat them and cook them up like a zucchini, but I will let these cure on the vine, so I will let them get a hard, thick skin. They're gonna turn a brownish tan color, and then I can keep them through the winter. And I have a Tromboncino squash that I harvested in September of 2021 that's still in my dining room. It's still good. It hasn't rotted out. All these months later, it's almost been a year. It's August now, so it's been 11 months since I harvested that squash, and it's still good. So I really just need to cut it open and use it at this point since I've got more coming on. But it's a very good storing squash. So Tromboncino is a really nice versatile thing that you can grow. And then here is my loofah gourd. You know, for being concerned that this was not going to grow because there were some issues about me actually getting it planted in the ground, it has since taken off, and This little tendril is just about to reach the top of the trellis, and so my hope is at this point that it will fill in more, so I'm very excited about that. And even down here at the end, I have another loofah gourd just starting to climb up. So that way it will cover this one too. My Eden climbing rose, which you can see here and here. Oh, it looks like we have a blossom. This blossoms in like late June, so this already had its first full flush, but this is one. The plant, it died back a little bit this year, so last year my rose almost covered the whole arch, but since we had a rough winter, I had to cut it down, and so this trellis is pretty bare. Isn't that such a pretty view? So this is where all of the garlic was in the last garden tour. That has all been pulled up. I have a garlic harvest video that I will link below, and in this space I've got some things planted for my fall garden. So I have a row of beets, carrots, more green beans, and some fast-growing squashes. And so I just put this in last week. A lot of the seeds haven't come up yet. I just now have some beans starting to sprout, and you can kind of see some squashes in here. So more to come on this space. I'm hoping to get really good production crop out of this for our fall and early winter season. We have a storm rolling in. Look at that. We're gonna have to finish up here pretty soon. More beans that are going bad. I have done one harvest off of this section of green beans. I got 4 pounds. I am letting some of the new beans grow out a little more. I'm gonna pick it one more time, and then I'm gonna rip these out. These plants look the worst of all the beans. The pest pressure is really strong on these ones, so I don't think it's really worth trying to keep that in here. I can pull all these out and re-sow for fall beans and hopefully have less of a pest pressure. I planted these all on June 1st, so it's been exactly 2 months since I sowed these plants. I've gotten one harvest off of them, 4 pounds of beans already. And so if I can get, you know, another couple pounds, that would be great, and then start over. And I've got a couple different varieties. I have jade beans, dwarf Taylor bush beans, blue lake bush beans in here, and you can't really tell the difference, especially since I pick them when the beans look like this. So I mean, all the different varieties, they kind of look the same. The only time you're really gonna know a big difference in like color or taste or texture, it's like when the beans dry out. So if I were to let these fully mature until this pod is big, puffy, and really dried out, the beans inside would become hard, and you would take those out, and that's what you would, like, you know, when you go to the store, you get a bag of dried beans, like, this is how they grow. You just have to let them fully mature and dry out on the plant before you pick them. And the beans inside at that point, you know, that's when they're gonna look different. So a jade bush bean has a really beautiful light green color, the color jade. But at this point you can't tell because it's still growing, it's immature. Like this one of the dwarf Taylor variety, like it looks pretty much the same, it tastes the same. I don't know, some people may argue that beans taste differently at this point. I personally can't tell much of a difference, but I'm also not a big green bean fan to begin with, so there's that. Quick look at the potatoes. They are looking very productive and healthy. I don't venture back in there much, but we should have a nice crop of Kennebec potatoes. And the sunflowers are looking so nice. I have a couple real big ones there, so I'm excited for those. These are my volunteer sunflowers this year. I didn't plant any of those. And this is my favorite one because it has these just really big orange blooms, different shades of orange, and they're all these side shoots. So it's not just one big giant sunflower head, it's like multiple of them. And this is something that's been occurring in my garden naturally. So the ones that volunteer and pop up like this are becoming more frequent every year. So I think it's pretty cool. I mean, if this is a specific variety and you know what it's called, let me know because I don't know. or this just might be something that's occurring in my garden. But look at that color. Ugh, it's so pretty. And the bees love it. So there is a sunflower that I want to make sure you see. So this is the Van Gogh Fantasy Mix sunflower that has been developed by Sunflower Steve. You can find Sunflower Steve on Instagram or his website, but this is a type of sunflower that he has bred in his flower farm in Wisconsin. This was the first year that he has released these to the public to grow, and this is the first one to bloom. I mean, I am so excited for this. It is so beautiful. And then here's this one that just started to open. And it's kind of like curling backwards a little bit, which is kind of cool. It's different. And then I'm really excited for this one to open up, because this one is going to be more on the darker side, like this dark maroon purple color. And it's just starting to peak, you know, kind of teasing us right now. So this one's going to be really cool to see. And so I've got several more that are getting ready here to open, and I'm excited to see what happens. We're still getting zucchini. Starting to see some stress on this plant. The squash bugs are starting to come after them, but haven't given up hope yet. We still got zucchini producing, so I'm just keeping a watch on those. I went ahead and harvested out all the kohlrabi that was in this bed, and oh my gosh, there was so much. I will put a photo of the kohlrabi. They were huge. They were definitely overdue, needing to be picked sooner. But yeah, that one was a really excellent crop. Uh-oh, the storm is here. The rain has come and the sun has set, and it's time to sign off and bid you adieu from this garden tour and update on our 22 tomato varieties. Thank you for watching. I hope that you have been inspired by this video. If you have, please like the video, leave me a comment letting me know your favorite part or what you're growing in your garden this year. And please subscribe to my channel to be updated when the next videos come out. No matter where you live, I think it's so encouraging to see other gardeners and learn from them, get new ideas and inspiration. I follow a couple different gardening channels, and I am always so inspired to see what they're doing and get new ideas for my gardens. If you're enjoying my content, please like and subscribe, share with your friends, and please do something you love today. Talk to you next time. Bye.